such a nightmare. Hello, and welcome to my podcast. I'm Naomi, and this is NJ Knits, where I talk about my knitting, and currently my sewing of pouches. So welcome to a bit of a dreary London day. The tide is going out, and it's been stormy all morning, and it's still... I think it's going to start clearing up. That's my optimistic side telling me it's going to start clearing up. Yeah. But yes, welcome. I have a lot of things to show you. I've got some finished objects. I'm going to really try my best not to have this be 2.5 hours long because I just think that's excessive. Again, I do feel strongly that like people worry about how long their episodes are, but people can just turn them off. But still, like... I felt quite tired by the end of that 2.5 hours of talking. Anyways, so we're going to keep it fairly simple. Not really, probably. I've got lots of finished objects. Well, not that many. I've got some sewing, some knitting, and then I'm going to show you some WIPs, and I'm going to update you on my pre-Christmas knit list, how I'm doing with it, tell you about all the new rules I've come up with. And I do have some acquisitions because we went to Barcelona at the weekend and I may or may not have bought some yarn. So welcome, I hope you enjoy. I'm going to go and grab my tea and my notebook and I will come back and I hope you grab some tea and then we'll get into it. So I've got some tea. This is lemongrass and rose petal and some other things. Got it in TK Maxx. If you can brave the section full of random foods and things, they sometimes have some really interesting tea for quite cheap. So, anyway, let me show you what I'm wearing. This is the final Fisherman's Rib self-drafted vest. Which I made for Holly. Let me show you a little... Yes, look at all that extra fabric! Get down on my knees to show you. So not a roaring success, I would say. However, not a complete and utter failure. The collar was meant to come down to like here, and it, I don't know what happened really. So many things didn't work. Where to begin? I was gonna do, oh actually I did, I forgot. I did really small folded over hem ribbing for the edge because it was already kind of big enough. So I did super tiny, I think I only did like 8 rows. Here I did a folded collar and I did it really stupidly. What I had originally intended to do was to not have to knit back and forth, but have the two bits not attached, fold it over, knit it, like sew it down, and then sew the two folded bits down to this bit. But I thought, oh, I could just pick it up as I go along. And yeah, I could, but then I would have to knit. It just didn't work. I had this idea that I could pick it up as I went along here, and then I could knit further and then sew it down, so then it would already be picked up here. And it didn't work because I had far too many stitches here for how many rows I wanted to do here. If I had done that, it would have ended up being double, like that much thicker, like wider, the collar. So I ended up fudging it and folding it over and kind of just like fudging the sewing, and it looked much worse before I blocked it, but it looks more or less okay. And yeah, I had to really block out the sleeves because they were originally like quite a lot higher than I expected them to be, and I still honestly have no idea what happened here with all this extra fabric. This whole back panel was about that much wider than the front panel, and I cast on the exact same number of stitches and I had the same needle size. So somehow my gauge changed a lot between the front and the back, which is fair enough, I guess. It was like a year ago about that I started making this. But yeah, it's not a raging success. I doubt. Holly tried it on and she was like, well, I do kind of feel like a turtle. Yeah, but hey ho. So this is plain ribbing, and then this is Fisherman's rib, and I used the same size needle because I didn't want it to like come in too much. So this is the same needle as this is, and I believe I used a 3.75, and I used this cone, which is custom wool and mills, and it's a mule spun singles. Let me just close this. As much as I love the light, I don't think it's very helpful for you. So mule spun singles, it's very thin, and it's obviously singles because that's what it's called. I think I had 250 grams of this. The colour is 05, and I got it from a charity shop in Canada. So I've still got a fair amount left. I don't think it's enough for a jumper, but I don't know. I've no idea. Yarn seems to go on forever. Just when you think you're going to run out, it just keeps going and going and going. So that's this. It's finished. Holly says she likes the way the collar feels. It's nice and like snug and comforting. I blocked the heck out of it, and also the front and back. When I was showing it last week, I was showing how much less holey. No, the back's still very holey, even after like a full overnight blocking. That's the back level of holiness, and that's the front level of holiness. So girl's gauge was way off on the back, which is sad. I put a lot of like effort and excited sort of planning and hoping to be able to like, you know, that sort of like, I can do it, I could do anything, I can just copy a thing. It's a lot harder than it seems. Yeah, it's a bit sad, a bit spirit killing, but hey ho, that was that. It's done. It's not great, it's not what I wanted, but I'm definitely not going to rip it out. That is more spirit killing, I think, than ending up with a subpar garment. Because even when I end up with good garments, I sometimes end up giving them away anyways. So it's not really about the garment for me so much. It's nice like in the front. If you just look at this bit, even the whole front looks quite nice. But anyway, that's that. Time for some more finished objects. So if you remember from last week, that hat that was a little on the big side, Well, I felted the heck out of it. And it's somehow turned into a baby bucket hat. I don't know why the ribbing's done this. It's like splayed out and it's a little bucket hat. I just leaned into it. I just blocked it like this and I was like, you know what? We have a little baby bucket hat. And I think I'm going to give it to my friend who's pregnant for her baby boy. This is what it looks like on the inside. And this is it. This is the hat that I made for myself, that I made too big and then I felted it and now it is a baby hat. So yeah, I'm trying to keep this nice and, you know, shaped. Maybe I'll stuff it with newspaper when I wrap it up and give it to her for Christmas. So yeah, that's this hat. I made it with manchelope in the light grey. This is leftover from my Miles shirt jacket, and then this is manchelope, and then this is by Wool Dreamers, and then this is Plutelope by Eastex, which is also unspun, but much thicker. You can kind of tell it's thicker, like the raised, it's thicker wool. Both of these held double, and this is the colour Galaxy. You might be able to see some little flecks of other colours in there. It's quite difficult to see them now because it's felted, but that's that. And the colourwork pattern I kind of created myself. It was inspired off the off of a pattern, a paid for pattern on Ravelry, just like looking at it, the sort of look of it. Anyways, I always forget the name of it because I think of it as the Vara cardigan, but I don't think it's actually called the Vara. I think it's called something else. So, I still had leftovers. So I made a second one. This one. Is also just a funny size. I made the ribbing shorter, I made the stitch count smaller, and it's not really the look I'm going for. Yes, so I think I can safely say that this is a failed idea. I think we can just safely say, you know what, Naomi? Good job for trying, but no. That's gonna have to be a no from us. It's too small for me, basically. I need to block it. It's not been blocked yet. I'm not going to felt it because it will felt really small because this is much bigger. I did this one differently. Instead of doing intarsia in the round, I just did it like you might do a in the round swatch. So I just literally floated the yarn back across to knit, and then floated it back, so they're these like intensely long floats. But I kind of thought, you know, it's unspun wool, so like it's just gonna like felt itself down anyway, and as long as like the floats are long enough, it'll be fine. The other problem is like this wool is thicker, so it just like it makes the makes the hat like longer on this side because this whole panel is like thicker than this side. Anyway, it did not work. I've got a ridiculous, silly item here. It's just not a thing. I feel like I've got like an alien costume on. This feels like winter alien. Bit of winter alien chic. So yeah. But I used up all of my manchelope finally, which in the end seemed to be really what I was wanting to do. I even had to break into my swatch to finish it, and then the rest was I just put in for stuffing because it was all ripped apart, because like unraveling manchelope, just don't even try. It's like, it's similar to Nutiden, I think, whereas Plutelope is much denser, so it's actually a lot easier to like unravel and that kind of thing. So yes, a couple of failures. I finished, so yeah, if we're keeping track over here, I'm keeping track of the yarn that I finish And I'm also now just keeping track of the yarn I acquire, starting from whenever I started writing this down. So this is my out of stash list. So I finished some things, and then these are the things I just finished. So this was my 5 plates of Manchalopes, finally totally out of my stash. And this is my 6 plates of Plutalope, finally totally out of my stash. Obviously most of them got out of the stash with the Miles shirt jackets, but there was leftovers and I finally finished those. So now it's like totally gone. So we added that. It was a little sneak peek on my acquisitions if you saw that. Next... Right, so the next thing I have is I've finished my uncle's socks. They are blocked and finished. I did end up having a real problem and a real confusion with the yarn. And if you can see right here, they pretty much match up, which I'm very proud of. Look at that, all that matchiness. But right here, you can see that we have grey here, and here it's blue. And I did a lot of like shuffling around of like cutting and reattaching yarn. And I just could not work out how to do this. This, I think, is a totally different piece of the pattern that's been put in the center of some other bit of the pattern. Because this is not supposed to be here, basically. The only time you see this grey surrounded, you don't ever see grey surrounded by red like that. You see grey with red on one side of it, but not surrounding it. There's the grey with red. And so what I think's happened is they've got the grey with red and then they've just attached that to the bit that's the red before this red here. So they've like done the grey with red and they've reattached it to a different bit of the pattern. And I just couldn't work out how to reattach it in the same way. And I had ended up doing this like this mini bit of blue, which is what I've done here, and then I cut it and reattached it, and I just gave up because it's more or less the same. But there is one tiny difference, and because I just couldn't work out how they'd done it. And it wasn't, this sock, I never cut or did anything. It was in the Regia ball. They'd cut it and reattached it, and tied a knot in it, and it was just completely out of the pattern. So very annoyed with that, because that's kind of the whole point of buying one of these balls of yarn, is the matchiness and the stripiness. But anyway, they're done. They're almost the same. And one is definitely looser than the other, if you can see on these blockers. This one's tighter and this one's looser. So, I mean, honestly, I don't even know if I should make socks anymore, because my last pair of socks was the same, where one was just much looser than the other. And it's like, what's the point if I'm going to end up with 2 completely different things? Maybe I should just give up. Give up on socks. Just can't seem to make them. But anyway, this is a very downhearted podcast, but that's okay. So that's my uncle's socks that have been ticked off my list for pre-Christmas knitting. It was a very nice, satisfying tick, because those socks took a very long time to do. So that's, look at that, uncle's socks, top of the list there, ticked off. So the next thing that I managed to tick off this time, this week, I think it was actually this week, yeah. I did this in Barcelona actually, and you can see again that these socks are 2 different sizes. They've already been worn, but see how much looser this one is than this one? You can just see it. They've been worn all day one day. I did a 2x2 rib here, and I used leftovers from Holly's socks and cut them in half so I could have these like rainbow tube stripes, which is pretty cool. The yarn I used is a might have the ball band. This is my sock yarn scrap bag. Nope. I don't seem to have the the sock, the yarn here. By the way, this is all the like random balls of wool that's left over from those socks for my uncle. So I have quite a lot here to make some scrappy socks with. Yeah, I don't seem to have that there. I wonder where it is. It's definitely enough. I might not have brought it up and put it away yet. It's definitely enough to make another pair of socks. This was yarn I got in Canada, and it is merino and seaweed. So it's like 80% merino, 20% seaweed, sea cell. Gotta say, not impressed with the hardiness of sea cell. If you can see, like, that's one wear. I wore them one day in a pair of like basically like canvas high top shoes. Now I think I used a 2.5mm needle, which for me is a very big needle for a pair of fingering weight socks. So I think partially I knit them at far too loose of a gauge. Like you can kind of see through them. There's holes in them. So they were comfy and they stayed up and everything. But the other thing that I noticed was actually wearing these, I noticed the pearl bumps like rubbing against the bottoms of my feet. I don't know, have you ever felt that before when you've worn socks? Oh, I'm using 2 different size sock blockers. That might make them look different. But yeah, you can just see like there's quite a bit of wear on these already from one wear. So I need to block them. I finished them whilst we were in Barcelona and then I wore them on one of the days. And yeah, I just really felt the pearl bumps and it made me think like, why do we make socks that way round? Why don't you have the like frictiony bit on the shoe and the bit that's nice and smooth and soft on your foot? Such a strange habit that we have of putting the pearl on the bottom of your foot. Find that odd actually. Next pair of socks I'm going to make inside out. So that's what I have to say about these. I think they look really great, but they're probably going to die really quickly, given... And I also did an Eye of the Partridge heel flap and gusset. I'm kind of getting tired of the fit of my fish lips kiss heels, which I do enjoy doing because I enjoy the process of them, but I'm not actually loving how they actually fit. So kind of coming back onto the heel flap and gusset train because they fit really well. These are the ones I'm going to need to block these later. I'm going to have a blocking party after this. Whoops. If I'd waited to like block and let everything dry, it would have been a much longer podcast because then it would have been... This is a nightmare. Would have been a longer podcast because I got these sock blockers, by the way, from Amazon for like £17, I think. £11 maybe. They come in 3 sizes, which is handy. The big size is Holly's size, the medium size is my size, and the smaller size is like my sister's size. So, yeah. Okay. That's my finished objects. And then we were in Spain, and my next couple of finished objects are actually acquisitions, because I got some more Wool Dreamers yarn. I love Wool Dreamers, and it's a Spanish company. So I was hoping that some of the local yarn shops in Barcelona might stock it, and they did. So I went to, and I'll talk about it in acquisitions, but I went to a couple of different yarn shops and I got this wool that I hadn't tried. The only one I'd tried was Manchalope. This is called, oh, I forget what it's called. I think it's called Mota. And it's a sport weight, kind of DK weight yarn. And it's Spanish Merino and Spanish Manchego. And it's a spun yarn. I think it's got 3 different plies spun together, but it's a really wonderful texture, and the colours are brilliant. I got 3 different colours, but I'll show you this colour. This is the first colour I bought, and I was like, I want a hat with this. And actually we were out and I'd finished what I was working on, which must have been something that I've shown you, because I finished it. I think I finished my last sock. Yeah, I must have finished my last sock, and we randomly came across this outdoor concert, and it was actually randomly the type of music Holly loves, so we just like decided to stay. It was free, and I'd finished my knitting, and I was like, we're now at a concert. Like, we were just walking home, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to bring that much knitting, and I kind of knew I was going to finish my sock whilst we were out, but I was like, yeah, that's fine. You know, I can walk for a bit without knitting, but standing listening to music, I was like, but we had been to the yarn shop, so I had this ball of wool, so I just cast on a watch cap from Pearl Soho, which is a free pattern, so I just got it up on my phone, cast it on, and the toddler size. Now the watch cap I think is meant for a smaller needle, and I had with me a 3.5. Actually, I had a 3.75mm needle, and I think it's meant for a 3mm or 3.25. So the toddler size was 100 stitches, and I was like, that seems like too many. But I did the 100 stitches, I tried it on, it was too big. And so I took it all out and I did like this much of the 100 stitches around, tried it on, pinched it, and I was like, I need 80 stitches. So I did 80 stitches, and this is the watch cap beanie by Pearl Soho with 80 stitches. And I made it and finished it whilst we were in Barcelona. So it was a quick project. I did it actually, so I kind of ripped it out and just barely restarted when we got home from that concert. And so the next day, I spent the day making this, and I finished it by the end of the day, which was really fun. We went to a flamenco. I didn't even fully knit on this the whole day. I knit on something else whilst we were at the flamenco. But anyways, yeah, I finished this, and I need to block it because it's still a little pointy at the top, but that's what it looks like. It's a very simple pattern, and it's free, so I can tell you that the decreases just happen every row, which I've never done on a hat before. Maybe I'm not that experienced with hats, but that seemed like a really nice rate. I think I've usually done it at a slower rate, and it's usually much pointier looking. Whereas this, I think, works really well. And it fits me perfectly. I finally made a hat that actually fits me. So I'm very pleased with that. And then the pattern comes with it also has a pair of mitts and mittens. So I started these on the plane ride home from Barcelona, and now I have matching mitts. Now, hilariously, I think I was like wearing this one whilst knitting the second one on the next day when I got home. Hilariously, they're 2 different sizes. I counted how many rows I did, but clearly very much smaller than this one. However, I will say, I always wear a watch, and I find it annoying to have to like pull everything back to see the watch. So this is actually perfect watch height, because that's where my watch would sit. And this one would go over my watch. And like, I feel like when you have it bunched this way, then it like the cold gets in. So anyway, so I'm saying it's a design feature, and this is the one that you wear on the watch hand, because they are watch cap mitts anyways, so they're made for watches. What am I like? How do I do this? Anyway, when we were looking at the Manchalopi, I was like, do you want a ball so you can have a hat too, Holly? And she was like, no, I don't want such bright colours. I don't think I suit a bright colour. I think I want like a more muted colour. And I'm making fun of her, because then I finished this hat and she tried it on and she was like, do you have enough to make another one? And I was like, oh, the bright colour's working for you now, are they? And so then we went back to, anyway, you'll find out more in acquisitions about that story. But when she tried these on, she was like, yeah, I'll have a pair of these too, please. So these were a success, even though I made them too short. The thing was, I think the hands are the same, because I measured these by like rows, so I counted the rows, but I didn't count the rows before I started this. Why didn't I? I do not know. Instead, I just measured, like, you know, I just like held it up to this one, but I had been wearing this one, so I think it was like stretched out, and this one obviously I hadn't been wearing, so it was much thinner, and so I think this one like was already at, yes, that's what it was, that's what happened. I went like that, and I was like, oh, that's the same, but this one was like thin and just made, and this one was stretched out, having been just worn. So then I was like, oh yeah, perfect, we're exactly at the time to do it. And then obviously I wasn't. So anyways, yeah, because if you hold them up this direction, the thumb and the hand are the same. They're just not the same down here. So count your rows, kids. Count your rows. So yeah, that's my finished objects. I might keep this on, actually. This is kind of how I love to wear my hats, like kind of like a headband. I like them covering my ears, but not so far forward on the forehead because I don't have any hair. So I would just look like I don't have hair, which I don't, but it's just not. I don't know, maybe it's cute. Yay, nay? I mean, I have more hair now, so maybe that's fine. This was how I used to always wear them, because I used to have shaved, so like where I've got hair, I used to have it shaved all the way around here, and so this would get obviously very cold, so I needed a hat I always wore my hats so they would like cover the whole back of my head, more than, like, I was more concerned with the back of my head than like the front of my head, really. So, time for some sewing finished objects. I have always the chapters in the down bar, so if you like go down to like where the like little thing that tells you how far you are in this video, you can see the names of each like chapter, so if you want to skip the sewing, you are fully able to do so. First sewing finished object, we went back to the scrap centre. If you're in London, it's called Work and Play, and it's a scrap store. You pay a fee, £30 I think, for the year, and then you can go and pick up scraps anytime you want, and they have lots of fabric scraps. So I found this tiny little square of cashmere, and I tried to copy the pattern of some mitts that I have from turtle doves that I got as a gift, a Christmas gift, and they're basically a cashmere jumper that someone took the sleeve of and flipped around and made into a hand warmer. Check them out online, they're really cool, and they're all cashmere, and they're just like jumpers that have holes in the other bits, and they use the sleeve to make hand warmers, and they're amazing. So I grabbed this piece and I thought I could just try and sew hand warmers. They don't look great, but boy do they feel great. So let me show you what they look like. Yeah, I basically tried not to have too many raw edges, but so I've done like French seams so that I wouldn't have lots of unraveling, but the French seams are quite bulky, but it's okay. And then here I've tried to just do a rolled. No, here I haven't done anything. Here it's just a seam. And then this was like the actual edge of the fabric, so that was kind of nice. So anyway, it's not, they're not well done at all, but they feel wonderful, and I just thought I could have a second pair. I wear them a lot in the winter time because you can knit whilst you walk and keep your hands pretty warm. And these are so nice because, like, cashmere, it's really lightweight, but it's so warm. So yeah, I just basically sewed a cylinder with a hole in the middle, and that was that. They don't look great, but they feel nice, and yeah, that's all. That is all. The seams are also, this one was a whole piece, and then this one was 2 pieces that I had to piece together. So it has a seam here and a seam here. But yeah, they feel lovely. I'm just getting warmer and warmer. Next, I have some more pouches. So I'll show you the first pouch. This is my foray into lined pouches, which was very exciting. Once I'd done the pouches, I was like, time to learn to line them. So these are lined box pouches. And here's the first one. This one has also been patchworked. I didn't quilt it, I just liked the patchwork. And these were basically swatches. Like, I think it's meant to be for like curtains or homewares, basically, like those kind of swatches you can get for paint. These were like fabric swatches, I think maybe for sofas or something, but they had those in the scrap store, so I got a bunch of them that matched and I patchworked them together to make a piece of fabric, and then I made a pouch out of them, and then I lined it with this bit of fabric that I got in the scrap store as well. And yeah, I even left, there's like stickers on the inside to say what the thing is and what colour it is and things, and I left them in, so it's a little bit of like thickness. So yeah, the zip is again from my just giant pile of random zips I got on eBay for £2. And other than that, everything else is... However, there is something I did wrong here. I sewed the lining too close to the zip. So I think what I'm going to have to do is unpick the lining and re-sew it again to be further away from the zip. But yeah, it's been both sewn and top stitched too close to the zip. So I'm going to have to unpick it in 2 places. But anyways, this was meant to be one of the pouches to be given away to one of Holly's nieces and nephews, but I forgot to put a letter on it before I made it, so I don't know what's happening with it. Firstly, it's getting mended, that's what's happening. Then I made this pouch, which I'm actually very proud of. They had some, again, like swatches of waxed cotton. So they're smallish squares, like only like about that big, but perfect for small pouch bottoms. So this was again at the scrap store. So I did a box, just a box bottom, not a full box bag, because they had these swatches as well of wool. Like, this is really nice wool. So woven in Scotland and in all. They're different colours. And so yeah, I put 2 swatches together and then attached the bottoms with the waxed cotton, and then I lined it with just a piece of plain grey cotton that I found in the scrap store. And I have this is one of the zips from my random bag, and it had this tab on it. And I think I did a very poor job of, I don't think you can really attach a zip that already has a tab very easily. I did a poor job of getting it on there with I think it's fine, but I don't think it's a thing that is actually doable. Maybe it is, I just didn't know how. But yeah, it's sort of messy under there. But it's a really fun bag, I like it a lot. I might keep this one. But yeah, when these swatches, they had, the way they were attached was they had holes at the top, and then they had like a string through the hole to maybe, I don't know, string them up together somewhere or something. But that's how they were attached. Whereas these bits of wax cotton, they were glued onto the piece of paper that said what they were. And you actually couldn't get the wax cotton off the glue, so you had to cut it. So you missed like this much of the fabric. It was very annoying. those people making swatches were not thinking about people using them as scraps to sew with when they put that glue on there. But these ones, I cut the bit with the holes in it off, because I was like, probably not useful for a pouch. But then once I cut them, I was like, they're so pretty. So I was like, oh, I'll just make a drawstring pouch with them. So, same piece of wax cotton, much smaller bag. And these are some old shoelaces, wax cotton shoelaces that I bought. I was trying to buy 1 pair and I ended up buying 5 because it was cheaper on Amazon or something. So I have different colours of these. So yeah, these are the holes that were already in the fabric in the scrap store, and they were the scraps from making that bag. So I just made another lined bag and lined it with the same fabric that I lined the other bag with, and I've got no idea what this is, but it's a pouch. It's the tiniest little project bag. Yeah, I mean, you could have a little sock yarn in there and just a little. If you'd already used a lot of the sock yarn, it could only be a small amount of sock yarn in that. But isn't it cute? It kind of looks like a climbing chalk bag, to be fair. Holly was like, "Oh, you made a chalk bag," and I was like, "Yeah, that's what I was making." The thing was with the chalk bag that the lining usually is what has the drawstring, not the outer bit. So I don't know how well this would work as a chalk bag, but anyway, those are my cute pouches. So that's all my sewing, and those are my finished objects. So yes, I finished so many things on this list here. I finished my uncle's socks, I finished my rainbow tube socks, I finished my fisherman's vest. So yeah, I only have a few things on here, and I've gotten started on them as well. Oh, I finished these as well. Watch cap mitts, finished. Ta-da! So yeah, only a couple more things on my mindless side. I've done a lot more mindless knitting than I have the mindful knitting. So let me show you some of my whips. Firstly, we have made some progress on the Welcome to the Jungle, but we have not, as promised, split for sleeves. We have also had an interesting development where I have seemed to have gotten on 2 different rows of the chart for one section. So I've made some progress. I don't know if you can tell. I don't have a progress keeper, so I can't really show you how much progress. But I believe it's the front section is a row behind the rest of the sections in the chart. How did that happen? I've got no idea. Well, what am I going to do about it? Also no idea. Currently, I'm just treading water and following whichever bit of the pattern is actually working. But I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I thought it might have been the sleeve, and I was like, well, if it's the sleeve, I could kind of just tread water until I split for sleeves, and then I can deal with them one at a time, and kind of doesn't matter where I am in the pattern anyway. But now I'm thinking about it, I think it might actually maybe be the front. No, I think it is the sleeve. I think it's the very first bit, because it's after my start of round, which is this one. So I think it is the sleeve. So I think my game is that I'm just gonna just keep going. This one's a row behind the other ones, and once I split for sleeves, I can just follow the pattern as it is. I don't know. So yeah, that's where I am. That's the blunder I've made. I mean, to be fair, I haven't made many blunders on this yet, so I'm well timed for needing another one. It's, you know, getting somewhere. Holly was looking at a leopard print jumper in H&M. Oh no! No! I dropped a stitch! Only one stitch. Such a nightmare. Yeah, Holly was looking at like a green leopard print jumper at H&M the other day, and I was like, "You're not allowed. You've got to wait for 5 years until I finish your Welcome to the Jungle. That's the rules." She was like, "Fine." So yeah, I'm still pottering along, still on the same first ball of wool. I've got, I think, 5 or 6, maybe more, maybe like 7 rows left before the split for sleeves, which honestly cannot come soon enough. Each round takes me at least an hour. It's an hour a round, at least. It might be a bit more, but I think it's around an hour a round. I'm still increasing, so as I get, like, it's getting easier. It's definitely easier to do and easier to follow the pattern, etc. But it's just, I'm still increasing stitches, and like, I was looking and I was like, okay, so each sleeve is, I think, currently at the moment like 180 stitches, but it's double knitting, so it's 360 stitches per sleeve section. So it's 360 stitches, and then this is God only knows how many stitches. So I'm definitely, I counted at one point, I'm definitely going to be at around like 900 stitches per round before I split for sleeves. And then it's going to be so glorious. That day will be so glorious. So yes, that's my Welcome to the Jungle. So that is... Oh, and I've changed my pre-Christmas knitting for Welcome to the Jungle yoke. That's what I need to finish before Christmas. So we're not finishing the jumper before Christmas. I was never going to be finishing the jumper, but it was just the list of my WIPs, so I had to add it on. I have been doing some work on my honey clutch. Gorgeous bag by Lisa Petite. Which at some point maybe I'll try and copy, because it's great. Nice drawstring bag, nice box bottom. Very nice, Lisa, very nice. Yeah, I've been working on my honey clutch. It's just taking ages. I can't say I enjoy this. I could say it, but if I did, I'd be lying. But I'm so close to finishing it, and it is very pretty. The other upsetting thing is that I ordered the lining from Petite Knit. I think I ordered it from Knit and Living UK. It had the set. The reason I ordered it was because I keep looking for the zipper that she uses with the like I love the tab on the zipper. I don't know if that's a little specific, but I just love it. And I've been working on this for ages, so since I started working on it, I've been looking for zippers like that anytime I was anywhere where they were selling zippers, and never found it. So I was like, fine, I'll just order the Petite Knit set that gives you the zipper, and it comes with the lining as well. So it wasn't that much, I think it was like £7 or something. I've lost it. I don't know, it came in the post and I was very excited about it, and then I've lost it. So that might also be a reason why this is just dragging. I've got a marker in here telling me where halfway is, so I just need to do that much again, and I will be... So I'm nearing. I mean, yeah, this much and then that much again. It's a very pretty stitch pattern, but it's just not that fun. I don't know if I think it's that I don't enjoy going back and forth in a round. Something about that just isn't making me love it. I really love the combination of mohair and alvetta. It's a really nice feeling combo. I understand why people are always like, oh, it feels amazing. Alvetta just feels really nice. It's just really nice, smooth, superwash yarn. So yeah, that's still going. And then once I finish that, all I have to look forward to is more double knitting, which I hated on the underside of it. So I just cannot imagine I'm going to enjoy the top bit either. So yeah, It's taking a long time. But hey ho. In other news, I've ticked off the mindful bit of my Gibson Ruffle blouse, which is the picking up of the stitches. And let me tell you, that is tricksy. The picking up of the stitches was very tricky because this is a Petite, this is a WIP I've had since I started podcasting. I've been working on it since I started. I finished the jumper and then it's been languishing, waiting for a ruffle. And so my sister and I finally got on FaceTime and started making the ruffle. It's a really beautiful jumper. It's fitted, tight jumper with a nice like billowy sleeve. I had to steek the back because I'm using alpaca and it wasn't loose enough to get over my head. If you remember episode 1 or 2 watching me try and get it over my head, it was a very silly situation. So I've steeked the back, an unplanned steek, very dangerous. Who knows how that will do, because it is alpaca, it's not really meant to like stick to itself. But anyway, so yeah, I've got what I'm using Ito mohair. I think it's Ito Sensei, because it was the closest match I could get to this alpaca, but I'm starting to see now it's actually quite a bit darker than the jumper. Don't know if you can see that. Yeah, you can. It's quite a bit darker, actually. So we'll see how the ruffle ends up looking. It'd be a bit sad if it's dark. I was initially just thinking of just using the same alpaca. I've got plenty of it. But no. This is the wool I used to make it. I use this also to make my cherry jumper, and I've still got 2 full cones of it. It's Knitting Global Heritage Alpaca, 100% superfine. It's 250 grams, approximately 1,000 meters per cone. 100% Peruvian superfine alpaca. And I got it from Yarn Undyed for some reason, because it's clearly dyed. Yeah, so I bought 4 cones of it, and I made 2 jumpers with it. I don't know which jumper is which, but this is probably the cherry. That's the leftover from the cherry, and then that's the leftover from the Gibson Ruffle blouse. So I've got at least 2 more jumpers I can make in this yarn. If not, probably more like 3. So anyways, this is Ito's, I think it's Ito Sensei. It comes in this sort of like, almost like bow-like. It has a little thing around it like this, and it sort of looks like a bow. It's really nice mohair, really soft silk mohair. And yeah, so to pick up stitches, you basically had to like put your needle into the fabric, get the mohair from the inside and pull it out. And I was like, that seems hard. That seems really hard. So I finally used this tool that I bought a while ago thinking this will be so useful, and then never used it, which is it's a Knit Pro crochet hook with a like attachment for a cord. So it has the crochet hook has a cord attachment at the back. I'll just show it to you. It's right over there. So yeah, this is what I used, and it just has this, same as the Knit Pro needles, you can attach it to a cord. So I just used that, and I had the wool on the inside, and I put the hook in, grabbed the wool and pulled it out, and then as I was picking up more and more stitches, I just let them slide down onto the cord, and then they were on the cord, and I could change out into needles. And my sister and I were very confused about, like, why do we have to break the yarn and then start knitting? Like, why would we break it? We have it all, because the yarn's on the inside. So that was interesting. So yeah, now I'm just knitting away on it. It will be quite some time before this is finished because it's quite a big ruffle. But now it's currently now in the mindless knitting now because it's mostly just stockinette. So yeah, that means I have cast on the mindless bit of the Gibson Ruffle, quote unquote. These arrows are like I've cast it on or I'm working on it now, and then the ticks are I've finished it. So I've finished the mindful bit, which was picking up stitches, which took ages, and then now I'm just knitting. So that's where that is. Hopefully that'll be done by Christmas. That's the whole idea. And I'll be able to wear it to Christmas parties. The next WIP I have is, so you can see the other things I need to work on. So the things I haven't yet worked, so I'm working on the honeycomb, slowly but surely, working on that. I haven't yet cast on my second sock of those red socks, so that's not happened yet. But the last thing that I have on my mindful side is the thin air tee, or mindless side is the thin air tee, and obviously I've already just talked about that one, so I'll show you the thin air tee. This is the second thin air that I'm making, because this was the first one that I made, and I made the V half the depth that it was supposed to be because I increased too frequently. I was meant to increase slower and make a deeper V, which is the reason I bought the pattern. I think I got it for testing for Lily. I think I got it as a payment, which was really great. So anyway, I didn't want to rip it out because I didn't want to, so I decided to make a t-shirt with a shorter V. So that's what this is. And it is really lovely. I decided to go for stripes with the other colour of veil because I just decided the texture of the other yarns I had were just too different. And I like it, actually. It doesn't really go particularly, these two colours, but they're kind of, I think they work. So it's going to be, I'm going to do one more, I'm doing currently one more stripe in this colour. I only have 2 skeins of wool. So this is my Mary Mecco bag, which I've been using a lot actually. It's a really nice lightweight bag. I only have this much left of the main colour, and I did want, I'm calling it a tee, but I think that I'm going to make it a jumper, if I can. So anyways, I'm going to do one more stripe of this colour before I get to the parchment, and I think the rest is going to be in the parchment colour, because I have a full skein of the parchment, and this is the only skein I have of this, so I've just used the one skein to make this. This whole thing has been just from one skein so far. So I'll try it on for you, so you can see what it's like. Need to strip now. I've got this. I was going to go for a yoga class, but I'm now just recording a podcast instead. And then I'm going to go climbing later. So I just left it on. My yoga gear. You're one of those people that just wears yoga gear around and doesn't actually go to yoga. Perfectly acceptable activity, I would say. So these needles are actually big enough that I can... Oh no, because I changed to a different size. I don't know if this will go over me now. Let me see if this works. This might be a terrible idea, but I've got my sleeves on these cables. I'm going to just try attaching these cables to the tips of my needles, even though they're attached to the sleeve. This might just be a silly situation where I look ridiculous, but we'll give it a try. I find that chowgoos are so well suited to these cables. They somehow are very happy to stick to them. Right. here we go, folks. I think it's fine. Did that work? Yeah, it's fine. So this is what it looks like. I've just sort of modified the pickup count of the stitches. I might not have done enough around here, and I've bound off a little bit tightly because I knew that last time I did it loosely and it was kind of like looking strange. So I think it lies really nicely. It is a little bit tight on to get around my head, but that's okay. I haven't blocked it or anything. So I did end up just doing the increases until I was wide enough, and then I just carried on knitting. I only added 2 stitches at the underarm because I basically want this whole sleeve to go around, because I want the whole thing to essentially just be a pretty skin tight jumper, which it is. So yeah, one more stripe here of this, and then I think the rest is going to be in this parchment colour. And the plan is to copy that on the sleeves and do the yellow and the more brown stripes. But I think I might, once I finish this stripe of the brown, I'm split splicing anyway, so I'll have to remove cut the yarn anyway. Then I might start doing sleeves. I might start doing like sleeves at the same time, so do the yellow stripe and the brown stripe, just to see how much of this brown I'm going to have, because I don't want to have leftover. Because a tiny amount of this lace weight yarn, I have no idea what I would do with. And also, you know, I can always do more of the stripes. I'm definitely going to have leftovers of this, I think. I don't know. So yeah. The plan is that the bottom half of this jumper will all be in this yellowy colour, which is parchment. This is Brooklyn Tweed Veil, and this is the parchment colourway, and this is the Moral colourway. So yeah, still carrying on with this one. This was the system I was using whilst walking around Barcelona. I was knitting on this, that's why it's grown so much. Just tie this back again. I was using this system to keep track of how many rows I had done. So I have 10 of these stitch markers, and I just keep putting them together. So eventually I'll have 10 stitch markers like just clumped here in between these 2 stitches, and that's when I know to change colours. I mean, obviously you can just look and just count, because it's 10 rows for that and 7 rows for that, but that was just my way of kind of not just like, the point was to keep myself from just spacing out and doing way too many rows and then having to rip it out, which I didn't want to do. So where am I? I think that is all of my whips, because my whips are all here. Oh no, I have one more whip to show you, and that leads into my acquisitions anyway. So this is like, this part of my plans is like the plans I'd originally written out, and then this is the stuff that I hadn't cast on yet. So this was all stuff that like were whips, or they were languishing whips. And then this was stuff that I was planning to cast on and finish before Christmas. And then down here I've added, and over here I've added random stuff that I've like decided to add on. So the whole point was I had to never have any more of these cast on arrows than I do tick marks. So I cannot cast on more than I've finished, basically. So let's do a tally. The number of tick marks I have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 tick marks on my list. And how many little cast on arrows do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I've got 15 cast on arrows and I've got 18 tick marks, which means I'm allowed to cast on 3 more things. So the things I need to cast on still are Holly's Christmas socks, Fair Isle mitts, which I don't really know why I have these on my list. It was just a thing I was going to do if I had leftovers from the Fair Isle hat. And the wheat socks. Those are the 3 things that I have not cast on yet. So yeah, basically that means the next thing I finish, this is my new rule, the next thing I finish, the next tick mark I do, I'm allowed to start a totally new cast on, which, for example, like this was a new cast on. And actually, technically, I've already done that. So in a bid to finish the yarn that I started, instead of having more leftovers, I made those mitts. And then when I finished the mitts, this was how much of the yarn I still had left. And I was like, oh, because originally I was thinking I could try and make another hat because I thought I had enough for another hat, but I would have to make it from top down because I didn't want to run out before the end. But if I started here, I could go as long as possible and then just fold it over either longer or shorter, depending. So I finished the mitts and still had leftovers, so I decided to start doing a top-down version of the watch cap hat. And I'm gonna close this hole with this yarn, I think. But that's definitely not how you cast on a top-down hat. There's probably a better way than just doing the number of stitches I want, and which was 8, and joining in the round. That was probably a silly way of doing it. But I think it'll be fine joining it together with this. I should maybe try it now and see how it looks. I'm sure it'll look fine, right? So yeah, this is my bid to finish off all of this yarn. I'm going to start a hat and see how far I get. I think this is going to be a good amount of a hat. Yeah. My idea was actually to make a stripy hat, which is, I think, what I'm going to try and do. So I don't know if it's a good idea actually to use this. I should maybe take this out and start it again later. I might do that now, actually. Because I don't actually want to be making this necessarily right now. I've done three items with that hat. I'm taking them out. I don't like the cast on, and I don't actually want to be knitting with this yarn. And also, I'm not allowed to because I need to finish something else before I start this. So, bye bye. Seeing real-time frogging now. Bye. Okay, bye. Bye. So anyway, this is the Wool Dreamers yarn that I got in Barcelona. I got it at this wonderful shop. This one I got in a wonderful shop called All You Knit Is Love. And I love this pun so much because it's like, if you say it in a Spanish accent, all you knit is love. All you knit is love. And it sounds like neat because in Spanish, like a T and a D, yeah, are they that different really? And an I and a double E, they're really not that different. So all you need is love. I love it. It sounds like neat and need. It's just so good. It's so good that it's a Spanish shop's name. It's such a good pun. All you knit is love. And also it makes sense in both the meanings of it. So like all you need is love obviously makes sense. And all you knit is love also makes sense because when you make things, you make them out of love. And this is the bag. I had to get a bag because I loved the pun so much. All you need is love. All you need is love. Do 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 do. And they also have this on the back, which is a fabulous woman with fabulous nails and a tattoo that says all you knit is love. It's just so good. I love it so much. Most of the yarn... Oh, that's where the leftovers of my sock leftovers are in here. I can put them in the bag of sock leftovers. There they are. So that's definitely enough for another sock, for sure. So I got this, and there is a pattern by Albiona McLaughlin or Mick something maybe. She's a great designer. I haven't tried any of her patterns, but one of the ones I really love is called Braids of Grass, that I really wanted to try. But anyway, she came out with this new one that's kind of like an oversized Henley looking thing with texture, and she made it in Nutidin. And I was like, oh, that would be so good in Mancholopi, because I love the feeling of Mancholopi. It's so soft but textural and so light. Like, I do think a baby would be quite happy. Well, maybe it's too scratchy for a baby. I don't know. Anyway, I love Mancholopi, and so they had it at Wool Dreamers, at All You Knit Is Love, All You Knit Is Love. And so I got 4 plates of it in this pink colour. And I'm going to make that jumper. And I'm so happy about it. I really wasn't... I really shouldn't have got... really shouldn't have got a sweater's quantity of yarn. But there you have it. 4 plates of that. That's the Mancholopi. And then I also got a souvenir sock skein from All You Knit Is Love. One of their own. One more row. They had superwash merino and nylon, and also non-superwash merino and nylon. I went for superwash because I found actually that I really like the feeling of superwash socks. I don't like the feeling of superwash jumpers. I've made one superwash jumper, which was 2 actually, in like a DK weight, and I didn't like either of them. I gave them away. They sag heavily on your body. I don't like that feeling. I like it to feel light. But as socks, I actually prefer the feel of... I've given away a couple of my non-superwash socks that I've made, because I don't like the feeling as much. They don't feel as... I don't know, I like the feeling of slipperiness on my feet for some reason. So I got this. The colourway is Eat Your Broccoli, and it's hand-dyed in Barcelona. 420 metres for 100 grams, and it's superwash and 25% nylon, and I just love this colour. I've been kind of like wishing I had more like whiter yarns for socks, because I love white socks, especially like I just love tube socks with the little stripes on them, so these would be so cute with some stripes. I actually have this colour of Arvetta, which would be so cute! Look at that! Look at how great that is. And I also have this sock yarn, which was a souvenir skein, and it's going to be for Holly. This is from a Portland hand dye, or maybe it's from the US anyway. This was hand dyed to look like Effigy's National Monument. 80% superwash and 20% nylon, and it's a fingering weight. So we also thought that like this one for me, this one is like fluffier than this. This one's like drapier, if you can see. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just how they're skeined up. Anyway, we were like, oh, they would go together really nicely, so I'm making Holly a pair of socks in these, and then if I make myself this, I could use leftovers from this on these socks. But honestly, 100 grams of sock yarn is easily makes 2 pairs of socks, even when you're making them for big feet. So I could probably, do more than just use the leftovers. I could probably get myself a pair of socks. That's what I'm saying. Out of the leftovers from Holly's socks. So I'll probably do that. But anyway, that was my little souvenir skein of From All You Knitters Love, and the colour is Eat Your Broccoli. So yeah, I'm very pleased about that. And then, yes, so this is the, I saved the tag just for you. This is the tag from this yarn. This is Motta from Wool Dreamers, and it is 230 meters for 100 grams. 100% lana merina entrefina y manchega. Entrefina, interesting. And it is, so it's manchega and merino. It doesn't say like what's the percentage. It's Okotex standard. I just love the colour. It's hard to see here, but it has like flecks of black which make the depth of this colour just so interesting. And it reminds me of the colour that there's a jumper that is in this colour, and it's one of the bright colours from Knitting for Olive, one of their very few bright colours. It's kind of a very similar colour to this, or how I imagine this to be. Anyway, it's a really interesting, not orange, not red, both of them at the same time, and neither of them colour. So, like I said, the story was Holly got jealous. I'm going to put my other ones on, actually. Put my Wool Dreamers ones on. So Holly got jealous of my fabulous hat. I'm very colour coordinated now because I have this top on as well. She got jealous of my fabulous hat, and subsequently my fabulous mittens, but at that point it was just my hat. And she had said when we were at the shop, because I said, do you want to get another ball and choose a colour for you? And she's like, no, I don't want a bright colour. And I was like, okay. So then I made my hat, and she's like, could you make another one for me? And I was like, well, we'll just have to go back to another knitting shop. The Wool Dreamers was closed the next day, because it was Saturday or Sunday or Sunday, I don't know. So we went to a different shop and hoped that maybe they had some Mancholopi, and they did. So we got, actually I might have got the Mancholopi from that shop, not from Wool Dreamers. I think that's true. Anyway, they also had the Motta, and they had it in some cool colours. So Holly picked out this colour for herself, for her hat. And can you see now the sort of darker flecks in it? There we go, maybe. It's got a lot of depth of colour. So this is a fabulous pink colour, and the colourway is, it's just 520G. Yeah, the colourway here is 463G. So this is 463, this is 520, and then this one is 442. So aren't these such fabulous colours? I really love them. And I got this one just because I was like, imagine the scraps from these three coming together to be the most cute striped item. And that's what's going to happen. That's why I took that red apart, because I can just use this with these two once I make stuff out of them. I think they're all going to just become watch cap hats because I think they're really great and they work really well. And then Holly's going to have one of these hats for sure and a pair of mitts. And then this will probably become the same, maybe. But then the coup de grace. Sometimes I feel like I get stuff just for the scraps, for the scrap projects. And it's weird that I say that because how often am I working on scrap projects? Not that often. But I'm always thinking about them. I'm always thinking about scrap projects. So anyway, that's that. So that's all of what I got in Barcelona, and I've written it into my book in the in stash. So I've got I'm going to try and keep this side longer than this side is the goal. And I am aware I put, 4 plates, 3 balls motor. So I'm kind of playing the rules a bit loosely. I should probably put the 3 balls as separate balls, because when I finish them I will certainly be putting them as separate items on my finished wool. But yeah. So one of the things that I really, really want to cast on soon is something with all of these scraps, because they're all a similar weight and they're all sort of similar colour families maybe. And I think I was originally going to maybe try and make a baby jumper, but now I'm thinking I might try and make a scrappy balaclava. There's a new pattern by Regia Design that uses 2 strands of bulky weight together, and I thought all of these together might work. And it would really be like quick and easy and fun, and it might look quite cool. I'm not sure, maybe. So yeah, that was the idea. I can't decide between baby jumper. I was thinking, because again, all my friends' babies are all boys, so I was thinking these 2, like this for the cuffs and the neckline and the hem, and then this for the body, might be really cute. Or chuck these all together and have a really like scrappy looking balaclava. I can't decide. They're all superwash, so in a way I think superwash would work better for a baby garment than it would for a balaclava, because it'd probably be nicer for a balaclava to be a bit like, not superwash. I don't know how well a superwash balaclava would work. But anyways, that's everything. A little life update. I've been recently realising that I've been using knitting to check out a bit. And it's been a bit of a vicious cycle where I've been sort of wanting to check out and knitting to help keep my mind, because knitting for me is quite a regulating activity, but I think I've started doing it more and more and more and more, and it's become a sort of a cycle of this is good, I'm going to do it more, I'm going to find ways to fit it into my day even more and more and more. But actually I think sometimes also I use knitting as a way of getting through an unenjoyable thing. So oh, I have to run errands, oh, I'll walk and I'll knit while I run the errands, so then it's enjoyable, I'm doing some knitting whilst I'm doing these errands. But then I think I've started doing it in my head, instead of it being oh, if something's unenjoyable I can add knitting to make it better. In my head it's just become add knitting makes it better. It's taken out the first half of the sentence, and then in my head it's add knitting makes it better. So then I'm trying to add knitting to everything, and it's actually making me sort of because when I'm knitting and doing something else, my mind is sort of divided between the 2 tasks, and I'm less engaged in what I'm doing, and I'm finding myself being less and less present just in general. And it's really interesting. But I think it's that I don't know if, I think it's both a symptom and a cause of this me sort of being checked out. It's like a symptom of me being checked out, so I'm knitting, and then knitting is making me more checked out, so it's a cause of me being checked out. And I've finally found today, I was I am just so checked out. I felt a bit a really nice time in Barcelona, but I felt I was a bit just sort of wandering and just sort of existing, which is kind of fine. I enjoy that, but yeah, it was just a realisation I've had today, basically, was that actually I'm using it as a way to distract myself from being present with myself. And obviously some people find that knitting helps them be more present with themselves, and obviously everyone's different. You can do anything these things are just tools, aren't they? And you can use them for good or for bad. So I don't know if I'm going to be maybe slowing down a bit on my level of output. I definitely will be, because I'll be at work starting next week all day for long days, and I won't have as much time to knit. But so that will slow me down. It will change things a lot. So yeah, those are just some thoughts I had today about that. And now it's time to choose the winners from last week, who is going to get a few free patterns. So I said last time, if you managed to work your way through that video at all, that I would be giving away one of the some of the Creabea's Cargill cowl that she's put up in the month of November, which is going to the proceeds are going to charity. So for the Oddball Along, which is still happening, Caroline from Caroline's Knits and I are hosting an Oddball Along, which is basically just a hashtag on Instagram, and I wanted to do some giveaways anyway for it. I might do more giveaways on Instagram for it as well. So just for this one, I'll give away 2 of the Cargill cowls. I didn't have anyone recommending any other patterns they wanted to be given away for free in the last video, but I've done a random number generator from the last video, and the person who has won a Cargill cowl pattern is Sarah Loves Donuts. They've also got a fabulous comment here that they've left, which is that trouser bag, this is about my last video, is brilliant. My husband's going to need to guard his khaki pants and sneaker laces. I think that will now make project bags from pants that need to go to the... Okay, I have to say this in an American accent because otherwise it sounds really silly, because it sounds like I'm talking about pants, like underwear. So, the trousers bag is brilliant. My husband's going to need to guard his khaki pants and sneaker laces. I think I will now make project bags from pants that need to go to the bin. I love your ideas. Heart, heart, heart. So thank you, Sarah. Let me know what your Ravelry is, Sarah. Feel free to, you can find me on Instagram at Naomi Joy Knits, or you can email me on Gmail, which is njknitspodcast at Gmail. What's your Ravelry account name, and I will send you a gifted copy of the Cargill cowl, which you can then give away to someone for a Christmas present, or make for someone for a Christmas present maybe. And I'm going to do one more just because I'm feeling generous, and then I might do one on Instagram as well. So let's do one more, generate another number. Okay, let's see who's that. Number 9. So that was 6 was Sarah, 7, 8, 9. Rachel McMillan. Rachel says, I always enjoy your videos and thank you so much for editing out swallowing, slurping sounds. I spoke about this in the last video. I can't stand, as in, I truly want to punch someone in the face. So not usually me. When someone makes food eating, chomping, slurping sounds. Nails on a chalkboard doesn't even come close to describing the physical and emotional impact it has on me. I fully get you, Rachel. I fully get you. Anyway, so Rachel has also won a copy of the pattern. Yay! So both of you, if you would like to claim your prize, email me or find me on Instagram. Tell me what your Ravelry name is. You can even leave a comment if you like, and I will send you a gifted copy of the Cargill cowl by Rebecca of the Creabeaee. And then I might go over on Instagram. And so if you haven't won on this last video, check my Instagram, because I'll probably do a post with a giveaway, and so you can leave a comment on the post and I will give another one away, because I think it's cool, and it's a good thing to give away patterns for an oddball along where you're trying to use up your odd balls of yarn, which is what I'm trying to do and what I have in my notebook. Anyway, lovely to see you all. I hope this was alright. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and a subscribe if you wouldn't mind. If you would mind, go ahead and don't do that. Feel free to do what works for you. And I will see you next time. It was lovely to see you. Have a lovely day. See you later.